Yo, what up? Welcome to another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. I'm Patrick, flying solo. So the Warriors, they beat the Oklahoma City Thunder at Chase Center 141-114 in probably the most perfect post-Steph injury game you could have asked for. You know, all weekend long, I felt like there was so much doom and gloom and pessimism. And, you know, I felt some of that too. You know, kind of like, how is this team going to make it work and whatnot? And again, this is just one game where the Warriors just happened to shoot the lights out of everything. But there were, in general, some really positive signs. You know, over the weekend, it was crazy to kind of see Warriors fandom not necessarily melt down, but there was a lot of angst and a lot of finger pointing and a lot of arguing back and forth about whose fault this season, whose fault this is, right? Do you lay it at the feet of Lacob, Bob Myers, Steve Kerr, the lotto picks, James Wiseman in particular, whomever else? And like, I feel however the season ends, that story will be written. I mean, there's a lot of things you could point at. It's no one thing, in my opinion, but that's for another day when it's all said and done, or at least closer to said and done. Over the weekend, you know, just thinking about this Warriors team and what this injury to Steph means, right? It's not clear exactly how long he's going to be out. People are saying 3 weeks, a few weeks, multiple weeks, 4 weeks, whatever. And, you know, that's obviously a huge negative, but we've seen this team play decently without Steph. It happened towards the end of that stretch when he had the shoulder injury most recently. And then, of course, towards the end of last season, heading into the playoffs. And I think Steve Kerr's job is to really rally the troops, rally the team. And this is an opportunity to basically refocus and recalibrate and reframe the rest of the season, especially with Steph out. You know what I mean? It's like when everything's stacked against you, then that's the opportunity where a team can come together and really, really just fight for the common goal, be re-energized by a new opportunity and a new challenge. So in this game, it seemed like they did that. They came out a little bit flat, and that was concerning to me. I was like, whoa, is this the team that we're going to get? And again, was understandable. And the Thunder, a bunch of young dudes who are more and more impressive as I see them every time. But they just came at the Warriors downhill, and you know, they came out hot. But at a certain point in the second quarter, there was a lineup that Steve Kerr had, which was not doing well. I think it was Draymond, Moses Moody, Ty Jerome, Andrew Wiggins, and Dante DiVincenzo. And they weren't stopping anybody, and they weren't scoring. So I was like, whoa, this is not good. But then Steve Kerr, he stemmed that tide by subbing in Looney and Klay back into the game. And it just went from there. Honestly, just went from there. Klay got really hot. For them, he was hot in the first quarter. It's great to see it because in this stretch, just like the last stretch, December to January, where Steph was out, it was like it's Klay and Poole who are going to have to carry this team. And Klay obviously did that. I mean, the dude hit 12 for 16 from 3, 15 for 22 overall in 33 minutes, 42 points. I mean, the record that he holds, you know, his record for the most threes in a game is 14. And they tried their darndest to get him the ball, telegraphing passes that the Thunder were waiting for and intercepted like 3 or 4 in a row. So Those are turnovers that will show up in the box score, but maybe shouldn't count. Either way, it gets the crowd going, it gets the team going, and guys were just hitting clutch shots left and right. So I think that's good. And we know that Klay is quote unquote back, but he just doesn't have that real consistency. Will it come back? I mean, I've said, you'll get a stinker game from him, maybe 1 out of 5 games. So we'll see. We'll see. Jordan Poole, the much maligned amongst some Warriors fans, Jordan Poole. I was talking about that end of season run without Steph last year. And that's when Jordan Poole, of course, he made a name for himself, right? That's where he just, shot the lights out of everything. He led the league in threes for that final month. And he really just showed that he could take it to that next level. And who knows, maybe this is the annual Jordan Poole evolution or annual Jordan Poole leap. Again, it's just one game, but what we saw from him was what we've been wanting for so long, which is better decision making. He had 12 assists on the night, 29 minutes, 8 for 14 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3, 4 boards. Like I said, 12 assists, 4 turnovers, 21 points, plus 28 on the night. He had the highest plus minus. Like I said, a few of those turnovers were him desperately trying to get the ball to Klay in the fourth quarter so he could break his own record. And so I will, cross off at least 2, maybe 3 of those. So this is what you want from him. You know what I mean? It's like he's had an up and down season shooting. He had a lot of those rough patches, and I'm sure he will continue to here and there, but he had a lot of them where those end of game situations that were just magnifying his poor decisions, where he would slip and fall, miss an open Klay, try to play hero ball, all that stuff. And that's not what this team needs. The next evolution for Jordan Poole is consistency with his shooting, is consistently staying on his feet and not falling over, but consistently making the smart play, the simple play, the right play. And that's something that I talked about during that home stretch where he fumbled the ball away against the Hawks and then the Pistons and then the Orlando Magic, all those games. And I was like, it's the decision making, and this shows me that he can, right? He can do that. So is he aware enough to continue to do it? It seems like it, because he was aware enough to be like, okay, this is what the team needs from me. He was deliberately passing the ball. He scored and he got his assist numbers. So if he can just continue to facilitate, that would be huge for the Warriors, because there aren't a lot of guys on this team who can truly, truly facilitate. There's a ton of guys that are tasked with bringing the ball up the court and just initiating the first pass of the offense. But without Steph, it's like you have Draymond, you have Poole, and even Steve Kerr said he's going to play Ty Jerome a bunch more, right? And, I like Ty Jerome because he's actually a true point guard. He's 6'5". He's a true point guard. He's not the most athletic guy. He has relatively short arms, but because he's a true point guard who has size, that's why he's still in the league. And of course, there's Dante DiVincenzo. This is a big deal to have Jordan Poole be able to take that next leap. If he can continue to do that, then all signs point up. We'd been talking about how Poole has struggled this season, how Andrew Wiggins has struggled shooting, struggled getting back into rhythm. I mean, in this one, even though he was only 1 for 5 from 3, 8 for 15 overall, played really solid defense on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, got some really bad calls, I think, probably 2 gimme calls that were just like star calls for SGA. And it was like, well, what are you going to do? It is what it is. So if these guys can focus, like we've talked about, and if Kerr can get them to just look at the bigger picture and really, really rally around each other, then they definitely have a shot. After the Steph injury, I was like, you know what? This team just needs to get into the tournament. They just need to get into the playoffs. If it's the play-in, that's not ideal, but it is what it is. And we know that the starting lineup is, quote unquote, one of the top two lineups in the league in terms of plus minus. Imperfect stat, but still. And then you add Poole, DiVincenzo, and Jonathan Kuminga. That top eight, as I've talked about since November, is really, really solid. And if you can fill out the 9th and 10th spots with a rotating cast of characters like JaMychal Green, James Wiseman, whether it's Lamb or Jerome, they keep on the regular roster, or if it's Andre Iguodala who could sneak in there and pop in as like a 9th man or something every now and then, just get into that postseason. And if the Warriors are like a low seed, this would be the truest test of their whole, like, they've never lost a series when Steph, Klay, and Draymond have been healthy in the playoffs, you know? And if they can, snag a road game as they have in consecutive series, I think from the very first title run, then that would be the crowning achievement of those guys' playoff finals career. You know what I'm saying? It's like chips are down. You're coming down from like a mediocre record and 8th, 7th, 6th, whatever seed, 5th seed, I don't know. And then playing on the road throughout the playoffs and then winning. I mean, getting ahead of myself, but just like, hey, that would be the wildest thing I could ever imagine. Again, you take it one game at a time. And so far, going back to my wanting the Warriors to finish out the pre-All-Star games 7-3, they are now 4-2 in that stretch. And then I also said recently that in these final games after the Denver loss, I was like, can they go 5-1 to finish out the stretch, right? Because that's when they'd lost back-to-back games and there was a lot of like, hand wringing and doubts and stuff like that. And so far they're 2-0. So they just need to go 3-1 to get to 5-1 if you do the easy math. And I think they still can, but one game at a time. The Warriors, they got contributions up and down the roster in this one. I mean, Draymond Green had another just amazing leadership type game, 28 minutes, 3 for 4 from the field, 10 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 7 points. It's great to see him out there. And I've noticed that he's a little bit more even keel. And that's because he's so close to getting a suspension for all of his technicals. And I said this like a couple of weeks ago because it was like kind of funny to see him take a different approach with the refs, like putting his arm around a ref at one point and just laughing it up and all that jazz. But like, it's also important because with Steph out, if Draymond misses a game, they really don't have a chance probably of winning it. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? Or at least the odds are drastically reduced. So I kind of am keeping my eye on that because it's something that I think he probably is aware of as well. And they need him. They need him on the court. I'm sure the coaching staff, Steve Kerr, I'm sure they remind him, it's like, hey, don't get ejected and don't get suspended because we need you out there no matter what. So that is good to see. Kerr went with JaMychal Green off the bench, 12 minutes, 5 for 7 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, 3 boards, 1 assist, 12 points plus 5. I will take that. That is 2 really good games back to back from that dude and 2 really good shooting games from him. He didn't play against OKC in the previous game in OKC. And I think that to me it was like, yo, if he's playing well, why don't you play him? Especially against some of these younger teams, because what JaMychal Green has is toughness. He has like that old man strength. You know what I mean? And he showed that tonight. He wasn't afraid to like bump people, knock them out the way. And I think that's something that, again, he was a big question mark for me before he went down. But I will take what he's given if this is how he's going to continue to play the rest of the season, more or less. I said after the last game that, hey, he must be hearing that trade chatter of like the Warriors need a better center, and whatever it takes to motivate you, I will take. I'll roll with that, because if he needs some motivation, cool. Because if he can do this, then it's feasible that the Warriors may not have to trade for somebody. I know there's a lot of people that are pining for Olynyk, Jakob Poeltl, whatever, but it's kind of unlikely, especially with Steph going down, that a big trade is actually going to happen. I mean, people still talk about the Thibault for Moody type thing. Who knows? It could happen. A smaller trade around the fringes or whatnot, but don't expect like a big splash with the uncertainty around Steph's injury. You know what I mean? But if JaMychal Green can give those minutes, that's a big deal. I'd always said that if they had a backup center who can give 8 to 12 to 15 minutes, then they're good to go. Because, hey, that's a guy who can give Draymond and Looney a rest. Those guys have been playing nonstop pretty much. And that's why you have JaMychal Green. James Wiseman only got some garbage time, but he actually looked pretty good, right? I was actually disappointed he didn't get in earlier because, as I said after the last OKC game, I wanted to see him play against some of these smaller, younger dudes on the Thunder, especially Jalen Williams. But we didn't get that. Wiseman, he, hit all 3 of his shots, and they were nice, couple hooks, couple moves in the paint, post moves, and they tried to get him the ball. Kuminga tried to get him the ball twice. Once was a turnover, once was a successful dump down. I think, again, that's promising too. While it was garbage minutes for 5 minutes, hey, he's got to keep showing that he belongs, that he deserves to be out there. He had 2 boards as well. So it was +4, 6 minutes or 6 points. Again, garbage time. But hey, if JaMychal Green can give 12 minutes, and if James Wiseman, in the right situation where Kerr or Draymond or whomever else can trust him, can get him out there and can get Wiseman out there for, I don't know, 8 to 15 on some nights, who knows? That's the goal to me. It's not going to happen in the next game. It's not going to happen before the All-Star break, most likely. But, you're looking for that third center spot to have. If it's a 2-headed third center spot, then so be it. You know what I mean? Just having those guys, especially during the rest of the regular season, to give Looney, give Draymond some breaks, man, because they're going to need as much health, as much energy in the playoffs, because that's where it all really matters, right? I said all throughout last season that what the Warriors should be prioritizing is health, getting the young guys and new guys ready for the bright lights of the postseason, and then seeding, right? Last season, it worked out because Steph came back from injury and they were healthy going into the playoffs. And then this season, same deal. Like I said at the very beginning, it's like, hey, get into the tournament, the playoffs, healthy, and honestly, all bets are off. Any team in the West is going to be worried about playing the Warriors. There's very few teams that have that deep playoff experience, that have the accomplishments and the pedigree to be like, no, we can handle this. You know what I mean? The Pelicans don't have it. The Timberwolves don't have it. The Kings don't have it. I mean, they have Mike Brown, but none of the players have it. The Grizzlies, they're spiraling. And I think, obviously, that the Warriors kind of have their number and they're in their heads. And then even the Nuggets, they had the run in the bubble, but the Warriors beat them last season, and they know what it means to play the Warriors in the playoffs. So the Warriors have a psychological advantage against pretty much any team in the West. The majority of them, at least, that would make it into the playoffs. So that's why you just got to get in. You know what I mean? You just got to get there. Jonathan Kuminga got the start in this one to keep Kevon Looney coming off the bench again. The lineup was Draymond, Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson, and Jordan Poole. That's a fun lineup. You know what I mean? You got scoring, you got defense, you got youth, and you have veteran play and leadership. So again, they start off a little bit cold, but I'd be curious to see that continue, to be honest. It's a nice mix that I think is a interesting wrinkle that Steve Kerr is going with in this one. And, Looney off the bench, man, 22 minutes, 11 boards, 4 assists, 4 points, plus 21 off the bench. You kidding me? That dude is solid. And, him coming in that second quarter to stem the Thunder making their downhill runs, that was big, because he just brought a ton of defensive effort, a bunch of rebounding, and that dude is, even though he's only like 26 or something, that dude is old man strong for sure. We even had a Moses Moody sighting. He got some first half minutes, and then he got in garbage time, 11 minutes, 2 for 4 from the field, missed both of his threes. +9, 4 points. Again, a lot of that was in garbage time, but he had a nice angry dunk in garbage time where he took it, got the ball in the left corner at the 3-point line, and drove and went over somebody and threw it down two-handed and hung on the rim, and you could hear him shout. So I'm sure there's a lot of angst there as well. But, this game was unique. The Warriors out-rebounded the Thunder 45-36. They still fouled a bunch more, 17-10 fouls. That's why they only were 3 of 7 from the line. I mean, 7 free throws. Yikes. I mean, that's not going to cut it, whereas the Thunder had 21 free throws. But what really obviously saved them is the insane 26 for 50 from 3, 52%. Compared to the Thunder shooting 11 for 32, only 34%. And then overall, the Warriors were 56 for 97 from the field, 57.7%. That's insane. So a great game. Again, obviously, they're not going to shoot this well all the time, but it's the defensive effort and, guys just stepping up. Wiggins making improvements, finding his rhythm on both ends. And Jordan Poole, again, making those better decisions and just being smarter. That's what he has to do. Like if this whole season for Jordan Poole up until now has been like ups and downs, starting lineup, coming off the bench, turnovers, poor decisions, and then this is his opportunity to really lead the team. Because even earlier in the season when Steph was out and Poole was starting, it's like, it's early in the season, but this is a critical part because they are just hovering around 500. They're 2 games over at 28 and 26 now, but he has to be the one that can really, really like secure the ball. And, because these games really, 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 really matter a lot more. So the Warriors, they head to Portland on Wednesday, then back to Chase Center for the Lakers on Saturday. And on Monday, after a couple of days off, they get the Wizards at home and then head to LA to play the Clippers on Valentine's Day. And then it's the All-Star break. So if they can go 3-1 in that stretch, then I will be mightily, mightily happy.